If you don't have a network in the industry or people don't know you, they'll just think you're dumb. I think a purely focused SEO agency is not a good idea. Nowadays, you have to do kind of a more full service. The crappy agencies will all die. The ones that are doing the bare minimum, not caring for their client, those are dead.
You have gone from flipping individual sites to acquiring now full agencies. What prompted this evolution?
We switched strategy into buying bigger businesses that are more stable. We think the client knows everything. They don't know anything. They hear buzzwords in the news. They email us, what are you guys doing about AI SEO? Are you guys getting me into ChatGPT? You need to figure out how to explain to your clients how SEO is changing. Not buzzword, not what they read in the news. You have to showcase to them that why they should keep working with you.
Welcome to the Agency Insider Show, where we explore what drives successful agencies and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Navneet Kaushal, and today guest is Mushfiq Sarker, an entrepreneur, investor, and acquisition strategist who has bought, optimized, and sold dozens of online businesses. Mushfiq has completed over 200 online exits and recently expanded into acquiring entire agencies. Today, we'll dig into how to buy agencies the right way, what due diligence really means, and how to turn operations into profit machines. Mushfiq, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Navneet. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So let's dive into the segment, which is your journey. And you have gone from flipping individual sites to acquiring now full agencies. Yeah. What prompted this evolution?
Yeah, so since 2008, we've been buying content websites. That could be niche websites that are monetized with advertising, affiliate, digital products, services. And we've been doing that for a long, long time, for at least 10, 15 years. I was most likely one of the earliest people going public with this information. We've done over 250 now. Flips, what we call. That's why I'm the founder of the website flip.com, which was my outlet into the world, sharing my strategies and newsletter and all of that. So that went well for a long time, and we still buy content websites, but a different strategy. The days of buying very small content websites that make a couple $1,000 and then growing that really quickly and flipping it within 6 to 12 months it's harder and harder now. It's much harder now because of Google's changes, AI, algorithmic updates. So we switched strategy into buying bigger businesses that are more stable. So early on, we used to buy probably 20 or 30 websites a year that are smaller. And now we realize that as I'm aging as well, I want more stability. And so we are buying bigger and bigger businesses now, which is one of them is agencies, e-commerce, and SaaS software.
So when you said smaller for our listeners, what does that number mean in terms of dollar value?
Dollar value, less than 100,000 is what we call in the acquisition, when we call it the micro acquisition world, small. In upwards of $1 million is what we call in our world middle market. So, this is a subcategory of private equity. So private equity, PE, is essentially folks buying businesses $1 million to $10 million. It could be in any industry. The online world has taken a big jump post-COVID. I've been involved for a long time, but it's really come more mainstream after people are starting working from home and realizing that they can just buy online business. So COVID has really boomed, and valuation multiples of businesses have increased significantly because of that. So we're in this space. $0 all the way up to a couple $1 million is where most of the buyers are that are individual. They use their own funds. They use seller financing. They use what we call US SBA, Small Business Administration Loan, which is a program in the US to essentially acquire these businesses.
Okay. Now, what's been the most surprising difference between buying websites and buying service businesses, which you do?
Yeah, websites. So margins wise, websites, you can operate them at 90-95% profit margin. Agencies are usually 20% average to, if you're good at it, 40%. So obviously you make less money. No humans. You can have a website. You don't really need a big team. I've had about 17 websites at any given time, which was my maximum. And I had a team of 2 or 3 people, right? That's all you need, really, if you know what you're doing, right? But with an agency, with clients, right? We just bought an agency last August. It started off with 35 people. We had to cut it down. We cut it down because it was too much redundancy, too much. I mean, not well optimized. Now we have about 20 people. So you do need manpower. You need full-time staff on agency, which is not the case on a content website.
Right. So now, when did you realize acquisitions could become a repeatable growth engine instead of one-off?
Oh, that was very early on. So 2008, when I was just a sophomore in college, so second year in college, I wanted to make money online, so I built my own website. And I got approached randomly from a company that wanted to buy that website. And at that time, I sold it. I didn't even know that's possible. They told me about the process. They told me how to make it safe. They educated me through the process, and they acquired it. Right then and there, it's probably 2009, January, February, I realized that I could just build these myself, or I can go and acquire them. Back then, there were marketplaces like Flippa, which exists today, flippa.com. But that back then, that was the early days of Flippa, empireflippers.com, these brokerages that are well known in today's environment, but not so well known back then. I was one of the first buyers in Empire Flippers. So I was very early on. So yeah, that's when I realized in 2008, 29, very early in my journey, that the concept of building something and then selling it, there is a market for that. And there is a sub-market of people buying smaller websites because of the cash flow and the high return on investment.
Okay. Okay. Now, you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you have acquired 6 agencies now, right?
Yeah, I think we're at 9 now, but yeah,
9.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So now,
Yeah.
what makes an agency a good acquisition target especially in today's market? You know how the SEO and everything in digital.
Yeah. So with our acquisitions, before I sort of answer, we have 2 types of categories. We have our core acquisitions, our agencies that are focused on a specific industry, and then we have add-on agencies, which I think of as assets that I'm adding on to the existing agency to help grow it. So of the 9 or 10, we buy core agencies that are focused in an industry, and that's a couple of them. That makes us have a team in place, a clientele list, recurring revenue, all those things in an industry. And then we go find little companies, little agencies, or somebody who had an agency but shut it down. We want the assets, which is the website, the newsletter, and all those. And we buy those on pennies on the dollar, so it's very, very cheap, and then merge them into the existing agency, so we get a bigger footprint. So to answer your question, sorry, can you repeat the question?
What makes an agency a good acquisition target in today's market?
Yeah. So, my background is SEO,
Right.
PPC, and just broader marketing. I like to focus on agencies, one, from a specific perspective of an agency on the metrics, very high revenue, not technically profit, because you'll see many agencies out there for sale, and it's very tempting. You'll see $300,000 in revenue, 250,000 in profit, and you think, wow, that's high margin. That's because the seller is doing all the work. The owner is running the agency, right? If you want a job, sure, you can go buy that, but anybody who has an SEO background, at least a good background, can start their own agency and grow that over time and do their own work. You don't need to go acquire somebody else's job, right? So when you're in the acquisition mindset, you don't want to acquire multiple smaller agencies and think that you're not going to work. So you need to go find high revenue, because when you have high revenue, that's recurring revenue coming into your bank account. So if you have that, you can always hire people, right? And cut down your time. So that's the discrepancy that I see a lot of in the market. If you do a scan, you'll see 100 agencies, 90 of them are that, owner owner managed. Owner is the main person. You have to, if you want those, that's fine, but most likely you don't. So you have to ignore those and focus on the ones that have a team in place. And that's usually a metric for that is very high revenue. So 1 million or higher, and that's revenue per year, is where you can get a proper team in place to do that. So that's my main metric in today's environment. What I'm looking for, very high revenue and ideally low profit. So that's how I acquired my business. Is when you have a low profit agency, you're paying a valuation multiple on the profit, not the revenue. So if your revenue is $1 million a year and it's on the P&L profit loss statement, it shows 100,000 profit, you're going to pay a multiple on that 100,000, even though the revenue is high. So you could buy that for maybe 300 or less $1,000, right? It's a lot of money. I'm just giving random numbers here, right? But it has 1 million revenue. So you can optimize the P&L to increase profit because you know as an operator that 900,000 in cost, that's too high, right? To make 100,000 profit. There's something going on in the operations where you either are hiring too expensive labor, too much labor, or you're over delivering on services that you don't need to, you're over promising clients, things like that, mismanagement. So you can go and buy it within 6 months, optimize the P&L to have more better margins, which is around 20 to 40% rather than 10%.
Right. So when you optimize these P&L, so does that mean you get your own people in place? So do you have those people operate from the US, or like other agencies, you have people in Bangladesh who would do it for you? Or, I mean, do you outsource, or maybe your team is offshore?
So it's a majority of my team is South America, Eastern Europe, and Southeast Asia. So I have a good team in India. I have a good team in South America, all spread out from Brazil, Colombia. So with agencies, we've seen we categorize it into two things. We have client facing, and then we have back-end support, right? For back-end support, amazing talent in Eastern Europe, Croatia, Serbia, Ukraine, and then amazing talent in India and Bangladesh and whatnot, right? They don't need to speak to clients, so they can just be very good at what they do. They are experts in their field, and they get paid a much higher wage than they would have working at a normal job in their country. So they're happy, they're working from home, and they're happy there. And then the client facing are folks from South America, which is also very talented individuals. Most of my team did their undergrad in the US and moved back to their home country and are looking for remote work that's for US companies. And they're the ones on calls with clients. They're the account managers, account executives. So those folks are very good there. So yes, I have my executive team in the US, which is myself, my chief operating officer, and all those are folks that are in the US and paid a market salary. And then our entire other operational team is all across the entire world.
And what about the sales team?
I still do sales, so I don't trust anybody to do sales. My close rate is very high compared to some salesperson I would hire. Maybe one day that will change. I just don't trust it.
Okay, one day maybe when you have to sell, then you would think, owner driven is the case here.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of models you can give commissions, but when a client that's paying me a lot of money per month, our retainers are high. They see the owner on a call and knows exactly what to do, which a salesperson is trained, right? They're not an expert. They follow a script or they're trained by me. But when I get on a call, I know exactly what that client needs, and it's quick and it's a 20-minute call. And if the pricing works for them, they're on board. Otherwise, they're not rejecting me, they're rejecting the pricing. But when a salesperson, you are rejecting the salesperson pushing and also the pricing. So I haven't found the perfect salesperson, and because I don't do the day-to-day management of my agency, like actual deliverables of client work or not, I am just doing the high level. I can take a few sales calls a week. It's no big deal. So
now, $1 million question: how do you source potential agency acquisitions? Is it outbound, brokers, referrals, flipper? How does that?
My best deals, and this is all deals, not just agencies, have come from Flippa. I have found the best ROI there, because if you have the patience, you work directly with the seller. It's a marketplace, right? There's no brokers in between. So you work directly with the seller. So there's probably thousands of business listed, and majority are not good because sellers can lie. The business is over promise. It's not that great. So if you can find the needle in the haystack, as I say, you can negotiate directly with the seller and negotiate strong. A seller is looking at the dollar amount they're going to get. They don't know valuation multiples, what the market is, all that stuff. They're just looking at how much they're going to get in their bank account. And oftentimes that number is lower than what the market rate for their business would be. So that's why I like Flippa, because I can work directly with the seller. There's no broker in the middle educating the seller that, hey, you should be asking for more. So there's ways to get deals there. But unfortunately, it does take time, and you don't know what you don't know. Broker is actually vetting the business because they're representing the business. So when they list it on their brokerage, either it be Empire Flippers, Website Closers, even Quiet Light Brokerage, the big names, there's some pre-vetting that goes behind the scenes that they do. And also they're doing a valuation analysis and putting a market valuation. So you lose that edge, but you gain the fact that this business was vetted before it was listed, versus Flippa, where anyone in the world can list anything. So right now, for anybody getting started in your audience, Flippa is great. The top brokerages are great. But for me, I'm a little different because I've been doing this for 18 years now. I have a very strong network, right? When somebody wants to list a business for sale, they come to me, right? Not everybody in the world, but they know that I am a buyer. You can Google my name and look like I am a buyer. I'm active on LinkedIn, Twitter. They know I'm a buyer. So I get a lot of off-market deals. My last agency, that was a major acquisition, was all off-market. So we were able to get a great deal on it. So I'm a little different. I don't think I'm the average person, but for the average person, as I said, Flippa is great.
Have you ever burnt your fingers?
Sorry?
Have you ever burnt your fingers doing these acquisitions?
Yeah. Nowadays, no. So nowadays, early days, yes, we've been hit with algorithmic updates on content websites. We've seen our websites go to zero. But
But
one
for the
thing
I meant for the agencies. Have you burnt
no,
your fingers?
no. Because as I was saying, is early days we made mistakes. Now we know what we're looking for, and what we like to do is negotiate very strong, so that even in the semi worst case, if revenue dips, we still are doing well, right? So I have the flexibility to not pay market valuations on businesses, also not to pay all cash on businesses. I can structure a deal with some cash, what we call seller financing, earnouts, things like that, being very creative financing that I can protect myself in the worst case, right? So no, we haven't been burned yet, and we won't be, because we're very critical. And because I have access to so many deals, I say no to the deals where the seller is not willing to work with me, right, on a creative structure, because I know tomorrow I'll get another one, right? I have that flexibility now.
So has your acquisitions on agencies also been through Flippa?
No, so all of them have been offline. So offline meaning referrals. Yeah. So because I've been active in the SEO world and marketing world, a lot of agency owners know me, and they know that I buy, so they reach out to me first before they list. Now that's not all of them. That's just the network that I have. And so I either give them a yes or no quickly, and they know if they're reaching out to me that I am very, let's say, I'll put together favorable terms for me, so they know if they're coming to me, they're not going to get the best deal. They're going to get a quick exit, so it'll be quick, like within a week or two, we'll be done with the deal. Versus if you go through a brokerage, it can take 3 months, 6 months. It can take a long time. So they know working with me, it'll be quick. They know that it'll be headache free. Well, they don't have to do any work because I have a team in place, and this is easy for me. And some people like that, and they just want to move on to the next project, right? So those are the people I'm looking for.
Okay. Now, what key metrics do you look at before even signing an LOI? So you said, of course, higher the profit, lower the profit, but is there any other metrics as well?
Yeah, good question. So LOI, just for your audience, letter of intent. So that is essentially an intent that you are in good faith going to try your best to purchase that business.
Right.
And putting an LOI, you can do it on a lot of businesses, but usually you put it on the one that you really like, right? And it's just a contractual agreement. So yes, high revenue, ideally low profit, because that means I can optimize it. Diversified revenue. So not technically diversified revenue streams, because with agencies, it's just recurring monthly retain. And sorry, I should before that, high revenue, but monthly retainers. I don't do service-based agencies. Service-based means one-off, like you just buy some backlinks or you just buy some content here and there. I have those as businesses I built from scratch. So we have 3 of those in our portfolio that we built from scratch, what we call one-off services, right? But the ones that we acquire all are recurring revenue, so recurring clients, and that makes it easier. You know that next month you'll have this much revenue come in at a bare minimum.
Okay.
So yes, high revenue, recurring revenue, focused industry. So there's a lot of agencies out there that cater to different types of clients. So you'll see an agency has 20 clients, one in the home services business, one in the legal business, one in the plumbing business, variety of industry, and you don't get core focus there, right? You don't build a brand on that agency is known for being an expert in that industry. So right now with the agency we bought last year was a legal marketing agency. Okay.
Right.
We are well known in the legal marketing world. There's only maybe 5 or 10 of them that are focused in the world in that niche. And we get referrals. We get referrals because other lawyers, our clients are referring other lawyer friends from other cities saying, hey, these guys are focused on law. Most agencies, most clients have been burned in the past in the SEO world. They're not happy with agencies. So when they see a team that is hyper focused on a specific industry, that gives them confidence. So again, high revenue, recurring revenue, focused industry, and then diversified, as in one client does not make up too much of the revenue, right? So in terms of total revenue, I don't want to see one client make up more than 10% of the total revenues, but that's the high level metrics.
Okay. Now, how do you handle valuation? So one is, of course, profit X of profitable. Is there a multiples, earn out, or even revenue sharing?
Yes. So for normal people, so not me, right? So if you're just buying your first business, you will pay around 3x to 4x seller discretionary earnings. So seller discretionary earnings is another fancy word for saying net profit. Okay. So on a $1 million agency, if it's making 100,000 profit annually, you'll pay around 300 to 400,000, around that range, right? There's a lot of differences and a lot of brokers do it differently, but around that range. So now that's if you're putting 100% cash down. We like to buy, we're okay paying market multiples. If I know, for example, in that scenario, 1 million to 100K, I can within a couple of months make that 300K profit. I'm willing to pay $300,000, $400,000 for that business because I can know I can turn that around, right? I'm willing to pay market multiples or higher if I know I can do XYZ to the business within this timeline. However, we like to get a little fancy and do seller earnouts and seller financing and revenue share. So the smaller agencies we bought about beginning of last year was 100% revenue share. So what is that? I put no money down. The seller had another business. They had a software business that they launched, and they had no time for this SEO marketplace per se. And they came to me and said, Mushfiq, it's going to take me a long time to position this for sale, put it through the brokerages. There's a lot of little issues that I know buyers are going to, nitpick, and I just don't have time for that. What do you need to close the deal? I told them, look, I'm not going to put any cash down. I will give you a percentage of the revenue that comes in every month until you get this dollar amount. And we did that deal, and within 12 months he was paid out, and now I have that business for lifetime, right? So no cash down. So again, it's not a normal situation, right? That's my situation. I'm just saying you can be very creative, but if you don't have a network in the industry or people don't know you, they'll just think you're dumb, right? For asking for those terms, right? So just be, and it's a very small world. If you're going to go buy an agency, you're going to talk to brokers, you're going to talk to consultants like me, you're going to talk to, and if somebody senses that you're looking for a deal where you don't have the expertise or anything to ask for in return from the seller. Like, you're not going to close quickly, you're not going to make it headache free for them, but you want the best terms, their brokers are going to ignore you, right? They don't need to. That there's enough demand in the market where they don't need to listen to buyers who are pushing for too much with no credibility to back that.
Okay, so what advice would you give? I mean, other advice would you give someone acquiring their first small agency?
Don't acquire a small agency. That's my first advice. Okay. So if you are acquiring an agency, you should have a skill set, right? Agency means services, right? So if you're acquiring an SEO agency, if you don't have an SEO background, why you're acquiring an SEO agency? Because you don't know, you can't, you have to have some background on what the client is requiring in their services. It could be,
Sorry to interrupt. So let's
yeah,
assume I, as
yeah,
page traffic, been in this business for 23
okay,
years, and I think I
perfect.
want to acquire an agency in the US. So what should I be looking at? Let's go that way.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So more experienced individuals. So for example, for you, right, you've been in this industry. You should be looking at something that immediately when you buy, your main agency grows, right? And let me explain that. That could be your competitor, which would be ideal, right? And you might know 3 or 4 of your direct competitors. We have made our best deals when our competitors come to us and say, we are just not interested in running this anymore. We buy those because that email list, that website, those backlinks to that website, the existing clients are all incrementally valuable to your main business. So what that does is it increases the valuation of page traffic, because now you gobbled up another competitor, and that's very matched up with your expertise and your accounts, your team's expertise, and so now
Right.
that increases your valuation if one day you decide to sell. Okay, now there's a lot of folks out there that will, like you, who have a good agency, they're running it well, it's high cash flow, and they go buy a separate agency completely unrelated to their main one. That's getting you another job. If you want that, go ahead, but that's not how you're going to increase the value of your main company, right? So I say, for experienced folks who've been doing this a long time, stay in your lane, stay in the path that you are, and just keep an eye out for people who are looking to exit. Look, your competitors aren't going to tell you my business is doing bad. All right, you have to have that sense to see, and always be reaching out to them and say, hey, we're friends. All competitors, we're friends, right? If you ever decide to sell, let me know. This is what I do every single year for businesses that I like. I always email them and say, and they know me, right? I tell whoever, and this is various industries. I have a list of 10 businesses that I really want to own, and I tell them, are you interested in selling? Are you interested in selling? And every year it's no, and one day it will be yes, right? And that's I'm the only buyer, right? So.
Because one thing which I noticed personally is these days I at least get I think 5 to 6 mails every week for people
Yeah.
asking, am I interested in selling? I mean,
Yeah.
it has increased in last
Yeah.
few months. For some reason, somebody wants to either put money into my agency or either want to buy, and they are getting, like, how they have backlinks request. Now they are getting acquisition and all these requests.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it me or is it with everyone?
I'm sure, obviously you have a great business. I'm sure, they're legitimate. They are legitimate. The thing is that there's a lot of, and we've been in this industry a long time. Cold emailing has been very much used for backlink requests and everything else. Now, cold email agencies are being created for M&A, so mergers and acquisitions. So we have buyers like me, and now I don't do this, but individuals like me or bigger private equity firms that hire cold email agencies to bombard specific industries and agencies or e-commerce business, whatever, right? And email them that, are you interested in selling? So this has been the last 1 year, and AI has helped us a lot because they can really customize that email and find opportunities. So, and this is because the market has grown. The businesses that are listed by brokers go quickly. And so they're looking for off-market deals. So they're hoping that you say yes. Yeah.
Now, coming to this, because you know how the SEO business has been in last 2 years, it's been a turmoil.
Yeah.
People think SEO is dead, and I mean the point is it's a negative sentiments towards SEO.
Yeah.
So do you think a lot of SEO, I believe a lot of SEO agencies, and I see a lot of SEO agency owners panicking. So do you
Yes,
think a fire sale is round the corner, or it already is out there?
it happened. Okay, the worst has passed. I have, and that was when essentially AI SEO was getting a bigger a boom. Not now. This was maybe a year and a half ago.
Even it was a helpful content update, I would say, around that.
Yes, the helpful content update, Google AI overviews, um, Chat GPT and all that launching, which was maybe, I don't know, year, and not now, but year and a half ago. So that,
Mm.
and that's when all the, gurus out there, SEO is dead, this, that. Now, and there was a fire sale of agencies then. That's why we were able to get revenue share deals on agencies then, because sellers were either not smart enough to know that, or they just didn't have the risk appetite, not smart enough. They just wanted to go into something else. So now, um, I think a purely focused SEO agency is not a good idea. So let me explain that. Which is back in the day, you could have an SEO agency that only builds backlinks, and that's great. Nowadays you have to do kind of a more full service. So our agencies that we buy, we do full service for an individual business. So individual businesses do not have the budget, and the smaller ones, to have a social media agency, a SEO agency, a Google business agency, a PPC agency. They just don't have that. So with the agency I bought, why I liked it is a one retainer for a little bit of everything, right? Which is they get a little bit of everything, and then to grow, once they grow, they can focus on specific things with us, right? So if SEO is really taking off, they then double down and give us more budget. But to get them started, we take a X amount of retainer per month, and we give them social media, we give them some paid ads, we give them some SEO, Google business optimization, pretty much a little bit of everything. That's what they're really looking for. So I think those agencies are doing well, and they're going to continue to do well. Even in a recession or whatever's going on in the entire world, people are cutting down costs. You can't cut, it's hard for you to cut down your core marketing team, but it's very easy to cut down your PPC agency because you realize maybe the ROI isn't there. But it's really hard to cut down somebody who's doing a little bit of everything for you, right? So that's why I think those are going to do well. Now, if you're an SEO agency, pure SEO agency, you need to do more than just selling backlinks and content. You need to do the website management, like all the SEO stuff on the website, Google business profile optimization, Google LSA management, like all this is a full, and as you know, an expert in the industry, right? It's all tied together. You can't just do one thing and expect clients to pay you thousands of dollars a month. So I think that's where agencies need to change focus. And to answer your question directly, I think the worst part is gone, but the market has shifted where clients are looking to optimize their P&L, and they're not going to pay multiple agencies for various services. They're really looking to find a comprehensive service.
Now, so when you acquire agencies, do you add services? Because now AI, SEO, and whatever we call
Yeah.
GEO or AI. So do you add services as well?
Yes. Yeah. So what we like to do is, so because my law firm agency does everything, right? So we now do AI. We try. There's no AI SEO. It's more of a black box. Nobody knows anything. What we do is we build software in house to essentially track, and to a certain extent, how often they're showing up in ChatGPT, right? So tracking tool to the best of extent you can track it, right? This has
Right.
really eased their concern. So again, we are too expert. We're too smart for our own good. Most agencies, we think the client knows everything, right? They don't know anything, right? They hear buzzwords in the news. Oh, SEO is gonna take over the world. They email us owners or account executives like, what are you guys doing about AI SEO? Are you guys getting me into ChatGPT? We realize we're getting this question a lot, so we built our own software in house to track essentially what they're doing and give them reports that, look, we are on top of it. We don't know all the answers right now. Nobody does, but at least we are behind the scenes optimizing, doing our best to get you data around this. And once the industry as a whole has figured it out, we'll be on the cut. We're on the cutting edge now, but we'll figure it out together, right? So I think doing those things has helped us. So we do AI optimization, right? ChatGPT, all that optimization. When we buy other agencies, what I'm looking for because initially I said I buy core agencies and then I buy add-ons. With the add-ons, usually they're very mismanaged, but they also don't have the full services. So for example, we bought a content agency that was very well known. It's called wordagents.com. It was one of the bigger content
Yes.
agencies in the past. We bought it. It hasn't been announced. We bought it 2 weeks ago. So we're redesigning that. But that comes with a website. It comes with the high backlink profile, right? Like a DR60 or something. It comes with a big newsletter, right? And the seller was only selling content services, right? But the audience there is looking for more. They're not only looking for content, they're looking for outlines, they're looking for backlinks, they're looking for niche edits, guest posts, all that stuff. And we have the back end team for that. So all we do on those websites is publish the landing pages and then have a one-stop shop. And that has 10x our revenues for other examples, not this one. It's only been 2 weeks, right? For other similar agency where we do that. So we tack on our existing services to these smaller agencies that we acquire, and that has helped us increase revenues. And also the clients appreciate it because they don't have to go shop around, right? They just know that it's there. And obviously quality has to be to the standard.
Right. Now, when acquiring these agencies, how do you evaluate team strength and leadership during the due diligence period?
Yeah, no, good question. So I have my own team, right, that I trust, that I've been working with for a long time. The agency I bought last year came with a team of 30. We had to cut down the team because they just didn't meet the standards that I have. They were not experts to my standard. So I essentially have a team of 20 or so people. Few are full time. A lot of them are hourly or contractors. And when I go and acquire a business, I first initially get my team involved in there so they can go and optimize and figure things out. Then they help me figure out what the optimal existing team should be. And then I figure out who on my prior team should join that company full time and manage that. So I have a hybrid. So I have the existing team for the agencies, and I have a hybrid team that I bring onto every acquisition to help streamline it. And it essentially, the streamline process is 3 to 6 months where everybody's all hands on deck, right? My entire team, everybody's kind of getting in there to increase the profits. And then over time, within 6 to 12 months, that's when I figure out the day-to-day operational team that will run that agency. So it's a little bit, I have that flexibility. I also have the flexibility that I have a large newsletter, a following. I can make a post, I can make a newsletter. I'm looking for an SEO specialist. I'm looking for a paid ad specialist. And I will get top tier talent, right? Because they want to work with me or they know that I will pay them well. And so I can always find that talent. That's not always the case for most people, right? So if that's not the case, use upwork.com. I find a lot of good people on Upwork, LinkedIn, and all those places. So
Okay. So have you till now sold any agency, or do you plan to sell them eventually, or no?
I have exited the flipping game. Okay. So as in, and this is I'm 35 years old. So I started when I was 17. When you're young, you are you have the energy, right? You can sell something and then you already have 5 other projects going on and you can just build from scratch again. As I'm getting older and family, I realize cash flow is king, and I'm sure agency owners know cash flow is amazing, right? And I like that cash flow. I like that stability. And if I sell something, I can't just retire now. I'm too young. I have to put it back into something else. So I always realize, why even sell, right? So yeah, no, I have no intention of selling agencies, not in the short term, no.
Okay. Now, for agency owners listening, what should they do now to make their agency exit ready if you were to look at them next?
Yes, very good. It has to start 12 months in advance. Okay. So you can't just listen to this and say tomorrow I'm going to go sell. Most agencies are not optimized for exit, right? So we helped another client. So I run an M&A firm, webacquisition.com, where we help mostly buyers do due diligence and all of that when they're acquiring. But recently we've had people come to us and say they're sellers. looking to optimize their business for an exit because they realize that they've been running the P&L as a hobbyist, right? Somebody who is putting a lot of expenses on the P&L, maybe over hiring because they don't want to do any work, right? But there is an optimal way to structure the P&L where the buyer is going to be happy and you get the maximum exit. Now, you have to start that 12 months in advance. And how do you do that? Agencies are team heavy, right? So you have to figure out your redundancies, right? You don't need 3 salespeople. You really need one with a salesperson. And this is an example, right? Some agencies have multiple salespeople when they don't have enough leads coming in, and those salespeople are not working full time, right? You need one salesperson with AI software to help them streamline their process. Some agencies have 100 clients and they have a team of 5 SEO specialists. You don't need that. You need maybe 1 or 2, right? If those 1 or 2 people know what they're doing, they should be able to. My entire marketing agency has 1 dedicated person per department. There's not multiple, right? You don't need it. If you have tools and you know what you're doing, you don't need a huge team. So it's really cutting down that team where you can showcase to the buyer that each team, the efficiency hasn't gone down. That's how you're going to clean up that P&L. Another thing I see is a lot of subscription costs. So agencies have a lot of subscriptions. We use a lot of software, Ahrefs, SEMrush, hundreds of them, right? It adds up. If I audit my P&Ls for all my businesses quarterly to cut down costs, right? And so you need to do that, cut down all the unnecessary software, figure out which ones you have multiple use cases. Like I've seen some agencies have SEMrush and Ahrefs subscriptions. I'm like, you don't need that. You need one. Pick one. Right? So things like that, cutting down those costs and cleaning up that P&L. And why you need to do that? Obviously to get the higher profit, but you need 12 months because you need to show that the operations is happening over a 12 months because valuations are based on your trailing 12 months of net profit. So you can't just do it month today and trailing 12 months because the last 12 months might have been really badly done. But if you can show to the buyer that I started today, 12 months later, I cleaned up my P&L and I still have the same number of clients or more, and efficiency is great, and I'm working 5-10 hours a week, that's a sellable business.
Now, let's move to the next segment, which is due diligence deep dive. So now, how do you vet client concentration and contract quality?
Yes, so easy, right? You are looking for a lifetime value of a client. What is the lifetime value of all clients? It's a dollar amount. If you're charging $3,000 to $5,000 retainers, how long are they staying on average? Our lifetime value for my legal marketing agent was about 2.5, 3 years. So it was which in my book is very strong. I don't know other agencies. So it was very high retention. You are looking for number of clients that have canceled versus so net new subscribers, right? That's what you're looking for, net new clients. These are metrics you can get if you're using Stripe or Zoho or any of those platforms for client management. You'll have that data there. So whenever I'm doing due diligence, I ask the seller to add me into their payment platform, whatever that is, and you can grab the raw data and run your own analysis. Or Zoho, for example, is the one we use. They have all the reports, right? So it's very easy to verify. So net new subscribers, retention rate, lifetime value. And I mentioned this revenue by customer. So we just want to make sure one customer is not 50% or 30%, it's less than 10%. Right. Yeah. So those metrics are really what's high level. And then it's more of, those are the, what we call key performance indicators, KPIs. And then we're looking at specific business aspects rather than the financial aspects.
Okay. And what is the biggest red flag you have ever uncovered during these due diligences?
Yeah, good question. So oftentimes the bigger agencies have less red flags because an agency making $1 million, $2 million, they figure something out, right? It's hard to fake a lot of that, right? But the agencies that are owner managed, that make a couple $100,000 and the owner does all the work, it's easier to fake stuff. For example, we have seen where the agency owner is doing services for their friends and family businesses and they're collecting revenue. That's fine, right? That absolutely. If you have a friend who has a plumbing business or a HVAC or a legal, you could do services and collect a paycheck. However, that friend or family is working with the owner. If you sell that business to me, there's absolutely no guarantee that friend or family is going to want to work with me. So we look at the customer list and we try our best to tie it back to the seller, to see, is there a connection here? And we can do that by directly asking the seller, who's your friend, who's the family, right? And if that's the case, it might be one or two clients. We remove that from the P&L revenue, and then we recalculate the profit and say, look, I understand that your friend. I have no guarantee later on they're going to continue with me. Most likely they won't like me as much as they like you. So we're just going to remove that from the valuation. It's a bonus for me, right? If it stays, it stays. If it doesn't, I'm not hurt. So things like that we've seen. And we have an experienced one where we acquired and then the client has essentially said, hey, you're not the same person. You're not the person I signed up for. But we have heard stories of that happening where a large concentration of clients where because they really wanted to work with the owner of the business that was selling rather than a new person. That's just a trust factor, right?
Right. Now, do you run technical SEO or operations audit before deciding? Of course, you said you go through Stripe, but are there any other audits you also run?
Yeah, so it's technical due diligence is what I'm known for. So when we buy, and this is mostly agencies, it's not so important because most agencies don't their websites don't actually get much traffic. They're mostly referral based or paid ads, mostly referral based, right? And most agency owner websites get zero traffic. It's not their job, right? So we don't really do much on the website end. We are really looking at what's the source of the traffic coming in, and where are they getting their leads from. But for more like e-commerce or software businesses or media businesses, yeah, we do a full SEO audit, figuring out the backlink profile, any PBNs, all the bad stuff you can do, any technical SEO issues, and yeah, we do that full analysis as well.
Okay. Any lesson learned from a deal that didn't went as planned?
You know, I have a lot. I don't dwell in the deals that don't happen. That's I think I have seasoned myself with the expertise and time in the market that if I lose a deal, I know I'll have another one. This is something a new buyer, somebody listening, is going to have trouble with, right? You find the best agency, it's in the perfect market, it meets your budget, you like everybody, the seller. If you like that one, there's going to be 10 other buyers that also like it, right? So just be prepared that if you see a perfect business, I also see it, and then now 10 other people are also seeing it. So there's a high chance that your offer doesn't get accepted, and just don't dwell on that, right? Because you'll find another one. So I don't have any stories like that where I'm like sad or anything like that. But I think most new buyers will experience that one. They guarantee will experience it. Just move on to the next deal.
Okay. And all right. So post-acquisition optimization, I know you told you bring your own team and it takes 3 to 12 months to do that. Now, how do you approach the team morale and leadership transition of the agencies?
It's very hard, very hard. Still figuring it out, right? Because I entered the agency world 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, right?
Okay.
Very, very, very hard because honestly, when you're optimizing a P&L, as I said, with agencies, 60% of cost is team labor. So if you're cutting costs, that means you're removing people from their job, right? It's not easy, right? But I have a different mindset. My mindset is my job is to acquire businesses to make them more profitable so I can invest those profits into more businesses so I can employ more people. If I find a business that's not operating properly, it's going to die eventually. Because look, let's look at this. $1 million business making $100,000. That's not a lot of margin for error, right? If I lose 100,000 in revenue, I make $0. You see what I'm saying, right? So
Right.
I could lose 3 clients, 4 clients annually, and now I have $0 profit. Now, if I am not making profit, that business is dead. right? So I look at it differently and say, my job is to optimize for profit. So the people who actually stay in the business will stay forever, right? As long as they're doing their good work, right? But then I could take the remaining profits, go buy 2 more agencies and make sure those people have jobs. So I think it's a different mindset where there's a lot of people out there now saying, "Oh, you're firing people, you're letting go people." If I don't, there would be no business. Everybody would be fired. Everybody would be out of the job, right? So I look at it like that on an optimization standpoint. That my job is to make the business be a 20-year business, not a 1-year business.
Okay, and so because usually in India, what happens is when an agency is acquired, the owner and their key staff is supposed to work for at least 3 years. But of course, those
Yeah.
are large acquisitions. Is that the way in the US itself it works?
Yes. No, those are all contractual obligations that the seller and the buyer have agreed to. There is no law in any part of the world that
Right.
says that you have to stay. It's, for example, when I acquire my agency, I could say that the executive team needs to work for next 12 months. However, these are bigger deals, as you said, where you can have leverage to say that, right? Also, and leverage is because the employees also have equity or something that's tying them, right? With
It's
small
just the
agencies,
amount of
yeah,
the right.
yeah.
Okay.
And also
Now,
yeah, go ahead, no problem.
please, and also please complete.
Yeah, the last thing was that when you ask people to stay, you have to promise them a higher salary, right? They're not going to stay for the same salary for 3 years or 2 years. You have to give them something that says stay for this long, and then you'll get equity plus a 20% raise for those 3 years. So yeah.
Now, what are your top levers for quickly improving profitability?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So with agencies that have been around for 10 years, right? Let's say 5, 10 years, there's a Rolodex of clients that once reached out or were clients in the past, and it's something that is hidden in an email, in the email inbox, right, of the business. It's just thousands of emails agency owners get, everybody gets, and there could be a client that reached out. My previous owner had a rule where they will not service another law firm in the same city. Okay, so but I don't have that rule. If I will not service the similar law firm offering similar services, law services, but I will have 2 different law firms that are separate in the same city. He had it very strict. So I don't have that rule. So we looked through the email inbox, found like 20 or 30 clients that reached out that were rejected initially, not even with a call that said, "Hey, you're in the same city as another client. I can't service you. If that changes, I'll let you know." Right. And we reached out to all of those. We had a high close rate because they really wanted to work with us. So that was an easy win. Within a month or two, we were able to do that. Other things, clients cancel for various reasons, and there's no follow-up. It could be their temporary budget issues. They want to try another marketing agency. Reach out to them, find the list of people who cancel, reach out to them, say, how's it going? Do you want to give us a shot? Lower close rate, but you might get 1 or 2 out of that. So I think most businesses that are around for a long time have hidden opportunities. They're not so common, right? They're not like,
Right.
"Oh, I'm going to increase the SEO of this page. I'm going to get more traffic." No, it's just things hidden beyond in your CRM or in your email inbox and opportunities that you should first explore and then figure out growth later.
Okay. Now, have you standardized any framework across your 9 agency acquisitions?
Unfortunately, no. I seem like I'm very organized. Yeah, how I explain things, I am not. I am not, right? So I have 2 COOs, chief operating officers, one for my
Okay.
main agency, the law agency, that's fully focused, and another COO. He's based in Calcutta. He's full time with me, and he manages all my smaller agencies, right? So he does work across all of them. He hires people, he puts together the processes, and he's doing all of that. So I am not. I'm sure he has processes. I have never checked them. He's very good at what he does, so there's no reason, right? So, but no, I would say I don't have SOPs. That's unfortunate. I mean, there are basic processes. Like if we need to put together a new SEO strategy, there is a document that my team needs to fill out, which I did initially. You could call that an SOP, but not like very strict processes, because I want my team to have the flexibility to figure out how to service that client. And each client SEO is very different. If they're following a checklist, AI can do it, right? So I don't like that where it's so strict on a checklist process or SOP, because they'll lose the ability to think out of the box.
Okay. With that, we come to the last segment, which is looking ahead. So do you think the agency acquisition space is actually getting saturated?
No, I think I think so. Let me explain. I was always, when I started, I 4 hour work week. These are these books, right, that came out, and everybody wants to work less, make a
Right.
lot of money, high margin, one VA. That's the life, right? That's how majority of people in my industry, sub industry, very small industry started. And that we started with content website because you have 95% margin, one virtual assistant, you can outsource the work to agencies yourself. Perfect. That has kind of died. It not died, but has changed. The industry has changed. And we realized the expertise that we built up, SEO, marketing, PPC, all that stuff that we've done for a variety of businesses, that can be applied in the agency world and done better. So the agency world in the past has been mostly people who are more professional. And I say that as in people who are not what I call growth marketers, right? I'm a growth marketer. I can take something from in 12 months to grow something really fast because I'm very scrappy. I can do various things. I have a lot enough knowledge in various sectors to be dangerous, right? I'm not an expert on any specific thing, but I know a lot of everything, right? So these people are now coming into the agency world and acquiring agencies. So I know that when I see a client, I'm not just looking at it from, oh, this is the SEO, we're only going to do this. I'm saying, hey, how can I get them leads tomorrow so they stay around 3 years, right? So these are different growth techniques that are coming into the agency world now from folks like me. And so the agency world is actually going to be, the crappy agencies will all die. They would have died anyways, right? The ones that are doing the bare minimum, not caring for their client, those are dead. Those are good. That doesn't even matter for industry changes. That's gonna die anyways. But the ones that are top, they are going to either get revamped with where you do more than your client asks for and you do out of the box thinking, or you're gonna die as well. So I think agencies are gonna transform. And the best of the best will always stay there, and the rest will all be just AI, and anybody can do it, right? So I think that's how you need to, as an agency owner, differentiate yourself. Like, what are you doing that AI cannot do automated, and how can you communicate that value every single time you talk to a client, that they feel like ChatGPT could have just done that, right? You don't want that conversation. That's a bad conversation where the client says, but I could have just done that with ChatGPT or the software. No, you gotta do things where that conversation never comes up.
Okay. Now, what opportunities or niches are you watching for now and 2026?
Yeah, no, I'm not niche agnostic. So when I do acquisitions, I don't care. I'm sorry, I'm niche agnostic. I don't care what industry I enter. I all I look for is opportunity in industry. So we bought legal agencies because lawyers are, they have money and they're willing to spend. Their average project is high cost, so they have the revenue to pay for it. So we're looking for those type of agents, industries where there's high revenue potential and they can give us a portion of the revenue to help them grow. So we don't go into like, there's a lot of agencies that are like specifically focused on like home services, HVAC businesses, plumbing. Majority, and I might be wrong. Sorry if anybody is has a HVAC marketing agency or something. Majority of them are smaller, right? Mom and pop owned HVAC businesses. They're not the bigger ones. So that's where I don't enter those industries, because I know the average HVAC company in my city is the owner owned, right? They don't have a team of 10 people, right? They don't have the money to pay the retainers that I need to grow their business. So yeah, I'm looking for those opportunities. Now, as I said, I don't care which industry, right? I will enter any industry. I do add-on agencies on the specific industries where I am, because I figured out that's a good agency. Then I go buy about my competitors, right? The smaller competitors. So yeah, hopefully I answered the question, but I don't care for industry.
Right. No, I agree with HVAC. Even the agencies might not have a very high margin. I mean,
Yeah,
the revenues,
yeah,
you can't expect a $5 million or a $10 million
right.
HVAC agencies.
Exactly,
I can't
exactly.
those.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Now, what skill sets do future agencies owner need to master according to you? I mean,
Yeah,
you mentioned
good
few,
question.
but are there others?
Yeah, good question. Hmm. Let's see. It's a hard question because it really depends, right? If you are a purely SEO focused agency, right, you need to figure out how to explain to your clients how SEO is changing, right? Not buzzword, not what they read in the news. You have to showcase to them that why they should keep working with you. Because if you don't, in 6, 12 months, somebody else is going to take the client because they explain to them how SEO is evolving, what you are doing, how you're getting them help with AI SEO and all of that stuff. So the days of an SEO agency pre-AI that's just collecting the paycheck month to month because they're managing the website, which is what they call SEO, right? And that's done, right? So I think evolving on language, services offer. So that's why I like when you're an SEO agency, you can offer Google My Business optimization to get them higher map pack, Google Map ratings, right? Rankings. You can do some Google LSA. Google LSA is very easy. It doesn't need Google PPC knowledge or cost per click knowledge. It's literally a few clicks and a budget, right? It's very easy. You can do, obviously, you're doing the website stuff, but you can do some basic social media stuff. So add on more services so they feel like they're getting the value because the days of just 3,000, 5,000, whatever dollar retainers, 10,000, whatever your range is for just one pure service is done. So explain to your clients how you're on the cutting edge and what you're doing to be on the cutting edge. I think that's really critical.
Right. Now, and how do you balance diversification versus focus across your portfolio?
Whew, okay. Yeah. If I was a focused person, I would have one or two businesses. No, I have too many. So, and why is that? I see diversification differently. There's diversification within a business, diversified revenues, diversified customers, and all that as we talk. But I also like it where if one of my businesses is doing bad, the others can help, right? I know a lot of people who have one business, and when it's doing bad, not only can you not pay bills, but you can't, there's nothing you can do to help grow it because the cash flow went down. So the reason I have so many agencies, I also have content sites. My wife has a full-time e-commerce business. We have some software business, a little bit of everything is because if one is not doing okay, that's fine. We can either ignore it for a little bit because we have other more important things to do, or we can take money from somewhere else and invest into it higher. So that I like that flexibility, specifically in the online world where things change so fast that you don't know what's coming. It's good to have multiple businesses and diversified, right?
Okay. With that come with the lightning round. We're just going to ask three very quick questions and then we're going to end. So biggest risk to avoid in 2026?
Oh man, from acquisitions or just in
From
general? Acquisition.
acquisitions.
Okay. Um, don't uh, if you're buying a business, don't buy a small business. I think that's the biggest issue. Small is relative, but see if you're not ready to buy a business and the only thing you can buy is a small business, don't do that because you're just going to create a job for yourself, and it's not. There's a lot of TikTok videos and Instagram people saying, "Oh, business ownership is great. You can buy something for zero money down." There's a lot of this stuff out there. Don't get into that. It's not easy. Your W-2 job is much easier than running a small business. So, yeah.
Coolest tool you can't live without?
Oof. I like Ahrefs. I've been an Ahrefs customer for a long, long time. I think
Okay.
that's always my favorite.
Where's the best to connect with you? Twitter, LinkedIn, or your newsletter?
LinkedIn is good for if you just want to talk. Twitter, I'm semi-active. I have a newsletter at the website flip.com. So I'm everywhere. You can find me.
Okay, Mushfiq, with that we came to the end of our show, and thank you for sharing actually a playbook behind buying and scaling agencies. For listeners, we will link to the website Flip and website and also the LinkedIn in the show notes below. And if you find value, subscribe and leave a review. And as always, keep learning, keep optimizing, and keep building smarter agencies. And Mushfiq, once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.